This is Supply House Times editor Mike Miazga here at the winter PVF Roundtable meeting at the Westin Galleria in Houston, joined right now by industry veteran, Supply House Times columnist, and ASA industry analyst Morrie Beschloss. Nice to see you as always.
Always good to see you also.
You brought up an interesting name earlier tonight, Gabriel Heater.
Yes.
And he ties in nicely to what you're predicting as far as prosperity here in 2014.
Yeah, well, you know, it's one thing to talk about it. It's another thing to back it up with facts. And as you heard, our major speaker tonight, Don McNeely, pretty much supported my facts because I'm basically talking about the industrial growth that this country is going to be experiencing in 2014, primarily due to this explosion of energy development and in all its aspects.
What leads you to believe, we've heard this the last year, 18 months, that good things are coming. What brings you to this conclusion? What things are going to propel this country forward here in the next year or so?
The two major points that are going to do this is, number one, the government is going to get out of our way this year more so than they have in the last decade. And not for any signs of goodwill, but there's an election coming up on November 4th, 2014. And both sides have decided, instead of fighting each other, they're going to just stand by and let industry and business and the consumer do his job. And it's starting to happen, but it's primarily going to be the industrial sector is going to be the big motivation for the rest of the economy in this year. Primarily energy development, exports, and construction at the levels of commercial, industrial, and residential. I don't know how many people know this, but America has the greatest amount of natural resources of any country in the world: fossil fuel, oil, natural gas, coal. We have the most entrepreneurial distribution and manufacturing group in the world. We had those people that install. You know, we can talk about the negatives, but I'm not going to talk about the negatives because I think the positives are going to prevail this year. And I think this year will prove me correct. When I talk, we might actually get as high as a 40% gross domestic product growth by the end of this year.
How big is this fracking phenomenon? How on the cusp are we of that to really exploding?
I think it's almost unimaginable. So far, with all the fracking that's been done and the tremendous increase in our energy development, I think we've gone from a low of about 5 million produced about 5 years ago to almost double by the end of this year. That's the rate of growth. We're doubling our production, and only 9% of our potential fracking growth is yet to come. I mean, 9% has come, and only 91% is still to come. The biggest one being in California, called the Monterey Shale. So I think it's proven. It's a big question. I think whether this armistice between the White House and the Senate and the House, whether that's going to withstand the next election, which I think is a motivating force behind it, because our congressmen and senators would like to keep their jobs, and the White House right now is pretty much standing back and letting the election go forth, so that the Senate, which is supporting the White House, is going to stay in the Democrat majority. I think that's one big factor that is making possible this very substantial growth that I'm predicting this year.
A lot of good stuff as always, Morrie. Good to see you again.
My pleasure.
For more on the PVF Roundtable, read the March issue of Supply House Times.